Hello, everybody. Shalom. I'm very pleased to be here today to walk you through what was a little bit our journey in the last 8 years to develop electric mobility on what we are seeing and what we are engaging as a next stage through our next plan, Drive the Future. First, I'd like to answer 2 questions because I'm not attending the panels, and I guess it was important. Even though there was a lot of questions, I will not walk you through answer during 1 hour because I have only 15 minutes. But yes, I would like to confirm that the business boundaries are blurring now. And everybody is trying to cover a little bit more the business what was done previously by other actors. However, still fair to say that OEM really remains OEM because from a product liability standpoint, from a mass market or mass manufacturing standpoints, still OEMs are clearly well experienced in this. But as I said, the business boundaries are blurring, so we ourselves have declared our intention in our next plan to enter in what we call RVRH, Robo-Vehicle Ride-Hailing business, on being an operator in the next month. It means that, yes, we are going to cross as well the line of getting more business out from what is traditional to auto OEM. The second answer maybe to the many questions which were asked in the panels were, is this going to happen overnight? Obviously not. It's going to take a little bit of time in terms of transitions. It's not going to move from black to white or black to white or white to black in a second. It's going to be definitely a transition where it's going to take years, and we need to prepare for it. And then I like as well to answer the second question I'm going to ask is, yes, Renault, we do have an innovative tech center here in Israel, together with Nissan on Carasso. So you can make the applause. Thank you for that. And then, obviously, the next question is, are you going to expand it? And yes, the answer, we are going to expand it. So here, now that we have done the mandatory stuff, let's go a little bit more on my presentation. So fundamentally, we didn't came to EVs because it was good from a fashionable standpoint. It was the latest things in town to do. We did it because we had the vision back in 2009 that it was very important that we move out from the traditional way to connect with mobility. In a very concrete way, we knew that it is required for reducing oil dependency. I understand that this very same forum started about 5 years ago in order to consider the way to reduce oil dependency. But on top of that, we know very well that electric vehicles are a good long-term solution for CO2 emission and a good short-term solution for particulate emissions. And this is why we, as Renault, from an alliance perspective, Renault, Nissan, and now Mitsubishi, we considered about 8 years ago that 15% of the CO2 emission worldwide are made by surface transportation. We are part of this chain. So we had to come with a solution, and this is why we invested more than 4 billion euros in order to develop the electric vehicle technology. Now it becomes almost mandatory more and more in the coming years, and there is a lot of regulations being developed and deployed globally. We name it CAFE. CAFE stands for Car Average Fuel Efficiency. It's car line average. You are bound to deliver it. If you don't do it in Europe by 2020, you will be paying heavy fines. If you don't do it in China by 2019, you will not be able to keep on selling your car the way you are doing today. If you look at the number of countries on this map, if I translate this in numbers, this means that about 85% of 83% today, 86% tomorrow, of all the automotive market, passenger car market, is now being regulated. So this is very important that we move. On top of that, there is a lot of incentives which are put by government in order to promote e-mobility. So it's always a little bit the carrot and the stick. So this one is a carrot, is to give incentive. Incentive why? Because still of today, because lack of scale effect, an electric vehicle cost, production cost, is more expensive than an IC car. We know it. So obviously, trying to reduce the gap from a customer perspective makes sense and makes the movement much easier and faster to happen. And it's important we do it. Because look, already a number of countries are considered to ban ICE products in the long term on their market. And it's not only limited to US West Coast or some mature economies in Europe. Now, China, as I said, India, considering to ban an IC car by 2030, Scotland 2032. So you can take the list of those countries. On top of that, you have to add cities now. You know, Paris, London, number of cities are considering to restrict their access to city center on widening city center in the coming years. So this is very important. Obviously, all these efforts are critical to promote electric mobility, and this is a key message here I want to say to all the attendants. It has to be prepared, and it has to be a very strong and consistent policy, especially because one of the ways to promote e-mobility is, of course, to build infrastructure in order to promote and to ease the utilization of electric vehicles. Now, what we did in the last 8 years, we put 4 products on the marketplace. So we know very different customer pattern from micro-mobility to light commercial vehicles. Zoe, today, we've been able to introduce a new generation with 400 kilometer NEDC driving range. It was announced 2016. We actually introduced it in 2017. This was 2 years earlier than what we had initially contemplated back in 2012. So here, a key message. It goes quick and it goes faster than we had anticipated. People are very demanding to say, your EV technology is just at the beginning, so we want more. It's a good news. Yes, of course, we know that you want more, that everybody wants to drive their EV vehicles more and more. But never forget, we have only 5 years of experience. It all started in 8 years. 3 years for the development timing. First car were on the street in 2011. And now we are moving in a very, very fast mode in order to improve the capability of our product. And look, 9 out of 10 customers are more than happy and very positive word of mouth with our EVs. 140,000 customers already driving every day. 1.7 billion e-kilometers. We won Formula E Grand Prix for Championship for 3 years in a row because this is about technical excellence to make sure that we test our technology in the ultimate testing conditions. And it has been said we are a leader in Europe with 1/4 of the segment. More importantly, we relentlessly train our people, 30,000 across the company, all our dealer network in Europe. Our distributor here in Israel, Carasso, has people who is trained on what we call with orange certification to deal and to handle electric vehicle with the specific gloves on all the stuff which come. So it means a very, very strong, painful learning process of 8 years to make sure that we are able to disseminate the technology. Because using an EV is definitely changing a little bit the way you behave to your car. A lot of pleasure using an EV. It's noiseless, it's vibrationless, it's emissionless. But obviously, today, you are not driving the same distance that you do with an IC car. What we tend to do, because all what we did in 8 years, what we call stage 1. On stage 1, once again, you can only consider that your business is sustainable if you consider it in perspective. And if we put this in perspective, we're already planning for stage 2. And as I say, we have announced on October 6th our Drive the Future plan for Renault. On stage 2 will drive us until the end of 2022. Fundamental element is this is becoming a mainstream business. So as a car company, it has to be profitable, because if it's not profitable, it's not going to be sustainable. And we consider this is important as a sustainable business. So the plan to do it is based on 5 critical actions: expand our reach, accelerate cost reduction, because we know for sure that we need to reduce cost of EVs. We want to keep the leadership in affordable electric mobility. We want to provide an easy electric life to our customers, and very importantly, generate value beyond what is traditional to auto OEM through energy and mobility sectors. Geographical reach is very simple. We are going to expand our geographic and segment reach. Geographic reach, we are going to move today out of our main market, which is Europe, where we are leaders, and to enter decisively in the largest EV market on Earth today, which is China. We have already announced a joint venture with Dongfeng and Nissan on it in order to develop, manufacture, introduce an affordable e-mobility in China by 2019. And on top of that, we are as well be ready to capture any opportunity, whether it is in Brazil, in the growing Korean market, where we are already selling and producing an EV, or in India. On segment reach, we are going to improve the battery capacity to store more energy in the battery, then to be able to have more driving range, and then to cover more segments. And the intention is to cover all key segments of the passenger car and light commercial vehicles market by the end of our plan. How to do that? First, obviously, we need to reduce dramatically costs. Here we are going to turn to the Alliance. We have decided to introduce a completely new EV-dedicated 3D scalable platform, which is going to help us to make sure that we have a scale effect. This will help us that 80% of the EV volume of the Alliance will be built on common platforms, either 100% dedicated or some will be derivated from IC platforms. We are as well developing new components, e-components, like a new e-motor made in-house and developed in-house with a cost benefit of at least 20%, while reducing the cost of our batteries measured in US dollar per kilowatt hour, at least by 30%. This is a magnitude of effort, magnitude of impact we are not used in the auto industry. You know, when you have 2 to 3% of productivity every year, it's already a good challenge. I guess there is a number of tier 1 suppliers in the room, and they understand that each time where they are pressuring them in order to reduce cost, more than 3% is going to be quite painful. Here, this is a huge opportunity. The idea is very simple. We want, and this will happen early 2020, to be cost competitive in terms of cost of ownership on a 3-year basis by 2020. So it means that, yes, the price of an EV will be still a little bit more expensive than the price of IC cars, but the running cost is much less. So on the utilization on the 3-year basis, today, we are more expensive. 2020, we will be at the same level, and then beyond is going to be in favorable of e-mobility. Obviously, we are going to improve features because customers are asking for it. They're asking in order to make sure that we're able to introduce this type of goodies that they're expecting. So the new platform with a flat layout will enable significantly additional roominess inside the cabin. We are going to be FOTA compatible. Over-the-air upgrade will be possible. And this is was a question done by one of the panelists. Be careful because OEM will face a significant reduction of after-sales revenue. Yes, part of it, but it's not new. It's already happened in the past with traditional IC engines. And we developed additional services like extended warranties and financial services. Here, with EV on over-the-air upgrade, we will be able to deliver new and build new services for customers, like predictive maintenance and the like. And obviously, we will develop our EVs to be autonomous drive compatible. And we will increase the range of our product, targeting above 600 kilometers by the end of the plan, 400 kilometer real range in motorway, capability to recover more than 230 kilometers in less than 15 minutes, which is twice as much as of today in half of the time. So no more range anxiety. But this is not the only things what we are considering. Our EVs is a unique opportunity for us as an OEM to be much more integrated with our society. Our EVs will be connected and integrated with the society. Here is a couple of examples. Today, the batteries will last, and after already 5 years of experience, we can see it is going to last more than the life of a product, more than the life of the car. People will change the car, we can take the battery back. And before recycling the batteries, there will be a second life of the battery. I give you a concrete example. This is not sci-fi. This is already happening today as a proof of concept. We are developing it. In some remote places or for grids, it's very important that you can store electricity. For buildings in La Défense, in Paris, they have a container of second-hand batteries from us. And they are storing electricity at night and powering the building during the day at a much better price and a much more friendly way to the grid than do it in the traditional way. Car sharing is one of the examples. We're already doing it in several countries in Europe. It will happen next month here in Israel, and the people are going to tell you a little bit more later on. Obviously, we are as well considering how to improve the chargeability of our car in a smart way, and we are introducing now a smart charging app, ZD Smart Charge, developed with Gilles, a Dutch startup on which we have been investing 25% of equity. And this is very important because in 3-click, being flexible on the way you recharge car, the grid is going to refund you money, to give the customer money if you are flexible. And this is tangible money that you can cash in. So it's small money, obviously, but it means that it will improve the TCO, total cost of ownership of our car, and obviously it's going to be much more integrated with the way we are behaving with the society. And we have established a company called Renault Energy Service to capture all the business we can do from mobility and energy sector. And the conclusion for me is, it's not because we are going to electric that we are going to lose the passion age of Renault. We are a passionate company. You can feel that, you can hear that. And it's not because we are going to electric mobility that we are going to lose this aspect. For us, it's very fundamental. And here, I will stop you and just would like to thank you all. Toda Rabba.